Hello everyone and welcome back to the Keep Productive YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Peter Akkies. Hopefully I got the pronunciation right. Today we'll be chatting about OmniFocus. Now, for those who don't know, OmniFocus is a well-known application that many GTDers use. It's probably one of the most complex task managers out there, but it's a very popular one for those who want to go deep with productivity. Now, Peter has been doing several YouTube videos on this. We'll make sure to link his channel in the description as well. And he's also put together a fantastic course. So Peter, please do introduce yourself and your story so far.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, Francesco. So my name is Peter Akkies. I suppose I am an online course creator now since I have a course. And yeah, I have a background in economics, used to work as a corporate consultant. So that has nothing to do with what I do these days. But I did that for a few years after graduating from college. And it was one of those jobs that it pays well. You're working with a lot of smart people, fun people, but it was also very stressful. So it comes with the territory of being a consultant. And yeah, I burned out from that. I just worked way too much, too hard. The pressure was high, and I ended up spending a couple of years not working at all. And I thought, you know what, like I want to do something else with my life. I don't want to work for a big company anymore where all I'm doing is helping other big companies save money, because it didn't light me up inside, you know? So I wanted to do something directly for people. And that's what I'm doing now, making videos on YouTube and having an online course.
Oh no, thanks for that, Peter. And you talked there a lot about your sort of burnout period, and something I didn't ask you before, I guess, like during that period of time when you were working in that industry, did you ever use any productivity tools? Were you ever exposed to any beforehand?
Yeah, that is such an amazing question, because practically no. When I worked as a consultant, and it's funny because you work on different projects at a time, it's the perfect time to use like a project-based task manager like OmniFocus. But what I was doing is either using pen and paper or using, like in Microsoft Outlook, like the list of tasks at the bottom right of your screen. So it's just like one single list that fits like 10 items. And it's bizarre. I don't know why I did that. Even in college, before I ended up working as a consultant, I used OmniFocus just for my college projects. That's when I discovered it back in 2011. So I guess like 8 years ago now. So quite a long time ago. Yeah. And then I get into this consulting environment where it's like the perfect, opportunity to keep track of all the deadlines, of all the things that are on hold or not on hold, and what order should I do stuff. And I just didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But so you discovered it back in 2011 or so, and so you started using it after this period of time, and I guess what drew you to the application?
Yeah, a lot of people be like, "Oh, OmniFocus, that's the getting things done app, right?" And I'm like, I suppose, but I've actually never read Getting Things Done. I mean, it's like, I'll show you because it's on my desk. I bought a copy the other day because everybody's always telling me that I'm teaching them this stuff, and I like never read the book. So that's one of my things to do, is read this guy's book. But the whole idea of getting things done I'm familiar with, of like thinking of things that going on in your life as projects, right? And structuring them as projects that are completable. And so that whole idea just resonated with me. So I guess it's just OmniFocus like thinks the same way that I do, right? And for some people that may not be the case, and that's fine too. But for me, it really is that way.
Fantastic. And I guess, like, so someone's watching this, they're maybe curious about OmniFocus. Who do you typically recommend it for? Because I guess it's quite difficult to place it sometimes.
Yeah, so of course, definitely for everybody who has actually read Getting Things Done or is familiar with the method and is like, that makes sense, but like I can't figure out how to, execute this in my life. But more broadly, I think for people who have so much going on, it's like the number one thing I hear. For example, I'm a member of a local Toastmasters club where I work on my public speaking, and we have a lot of people that have fancy corporate jobs, and they'll be like, oh, like I always have so much going on. I've got my work life, I do some volunteering, I'm doing the speaking here in Toastmasters, and then I gotta take care of my family, and it's so hard to keep track of it all. And I'm like, you are a perfect candidate for using OmniFocus.
You're my guinea pig. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because that's really what it's all about, is when you feel overwhelmed by all the things that are coming at you at the same time, and by getting everything into one system, making your system an extension of your brain. So you're not trying to juggle everything in your memory, but you have it written down, and you can intentionally sit down and look. These are all the things I could be working on. what am I choosing to work on today? So for someone who feels overwhelmed, stressed, I would recommend it to those people because it can bring clarity, can bring focus.
Fantastic. Yeah, there's so many different features in it, I think, that really accent that. Before we dive into this, so what we're going to be doing now, guys, is Peter's getting ready to sort of tour us around his OmniFocus account, which gives us a bit of an idea of how that works. But obviously, if you're curious about OmniFocus, you can check out his course. And I do recommend all his YouTube videos as well, because he's done tons of them. So you can definitely check them out in the description below. But Peter, this is a time where we can sort of dig a bit deeper into the software itself.
The way that I think about OmniFocus, right, is I want everything to be in my OmniFocus. So it all starts with the inbox, which is currently empty, because I did a weekly morning, and the weekly review includes going through my inbox, making sure that it's nice and empty, and that I've classified everything. But I always tell people you got to have everything in your product, in your task manager, whether it's Notion like you like to use, or Todoist or OmniFocus, doesn't matter. You got to get everything in there, because if you don't have everything in there, how are you going to know what to work on? So it all starts by putting everything in my inbox. And after I do that, I arrange things into projects. So on the left here, we can see my current list of projects. I don't know how this compares to you, Francesco. Do I have more projects going on than you right now, or is it pretty comparable?
No, you have more projects than me.
Oh boy.
That is good.
So one of the things I love about OmniFocus is this thinking of your tasks and projects. So for example, one thing I've been wanting to do for a while is sign up for a meditation retreat. This is something I've been procrastinating on because I'm not sure what kind of meditation retreat I'd like to go to. So to help me make progress on this, what I like to do is consider that sort of a goal in OmniFocus. So it's really easy. I just go create a project, and I drag it under the right folder. I've got like a personal folder here. I've got a business folder here. This is like a personal project for me. And I just write down what are all the sub-steps. So by doing this, by breaking things down into these tiny actionable items, I have less resistance to starting. So for example, first I'm just going to familiarize myself with, like, here in Europe, I'm based in Amsterdam. Here in Europe, what kinds of meditation retreats do even exist, right? And that is step one. Step two will be like, choosing one. I probably need to break this step down a little bit further, right? After choosing, I'm going to register. And I think of my life as basically projects like this, something that I want to do. You could create a simple task that only says sign up for a meditation retreat. But I find that if I do it that way, I will hardly ever get to it, because that's a big nebulous task. I don't know where to start. It's a bit overwhelming maybe. So I like to break things down. Same thing if I try and create a video for YouTube. Currently working on a YouTube video that compares OmniFocus with things. So I have this project, and I just list out all the steps that I need to do to get that video on YouTube. I've already completed sort of the shooting video bit, but then there's an editing video section and an uploading the section, making sure I don't forget to tag it and all this stuff. And I love just being able to work through the project in this way, and remembering to do everything in the right order, and So as a high-level overview, I've got my business projects, I got my personal projects, and I'm a member of a Toastmasters club, right? I mentioned we do some public speaking, and I have a formal role there as well. So I'm the vice president of education, meaning I'm in charge of planning our meetings, which is 3 times a month. So every time we have a meeting, I'll have a separate project for that in OmniFocus. And before the meeting, all I have to do is go in there and be like, oh, right, I have to do this and this and this, check it off. And then I know that I'm prepared for the meeting. So I don't have to worry about forgetting anything. I assign all the due dates to it. And I think my system tends to look quite complex to people when they see it at first sight, especially people not used to a task manager such as OmniFocus, which is project-based. If you're using something like the Reminders app, right, on iOS or something like that, you've probably just got 1 or 2 lists going on with a couple of tasks, and this can look really overwhelming. But you don't have to start in a very big way. It's just over time you tend to learn a system that works for you, and through trial and error you experiment with it. And like I was mentioning before, Francesco, I've been using OmniFocus for 8 years now. So after 8 years, you become quite familiar with how to use it.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And in terms of the so just interjecting that, in terms of the tasks that you actually have, how much context do you put into that task? How, because obviously there's loads of little like properties that you can add to a task inside of OmniFocus, but
Yeah.
what how do you feel comfortable with it?
You know, it's interesting. I know a lot of people are really big on tags. They're up here. And in previous versions of OmniFocus, these were called contexts. So if you're very familiar with the getting things done method, contexts are sort of these ways in which you could do something, right? So a lot of people will be like, all my tasks that involve calling someone, I will give those a tag that says phone or calling or something like that. So a lot of people like to organize their things that way. I only occasionally do that. I actually don't do that very much. So when I create a task, I mean, I can create a new task right now, right? Might be like clean the kitchen counter. What am I going to do? I tend to just want to assign a project and a time, and that is about it, you know? Yeah, of course, I could create a tag called kitchen, but what I find with those tags is they're cumbersome to assign, and a lot of the time I don't view my tasks by tags, so it doesn't add that much value. And I see a lot of people getting really hung up on which tags they're going to use, but then it doesn't. I think it looks nice in your organization, but doesn't bring any value. So I'm just asking myself, what am I going to do? You know, what project does it belong to? I've got a little home project right here, which is not really a project, more like an ongoing list. And I'm asking myself, when am I going to do it? You know, let's say we've got a friend coming over. She'll be staying with us this weekend. So I'll probably want to do that before she shows up. So let's say Friday at 6, because that's, you know, she'll be arriving Friday at 7. So I want to have a clean kitchen counter when the friend shows up. And I try and keep it this simple. Just when and which bucket does it fall in?
Fantastic. And in terms of the devices that you use OmniFocus on, is it obviously you've got the Mac version here, but do you use the
Yeah.
iPad edition and the phone edition?
Yeah. So OmniFocus, like any good productivity app, has, you know, apps for all of these, and I do use all of them. You know, mostly I capture things on the phone, right? Because I'm sure you get the same, Francesco. You're in the shower, you think of something to do, and then when you get out of the shower, you put it in your task manager. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
know that.
so exactly. So I tend to enter tasks mostly on my phone. I do have an iPhone, and even though it's like, you know, it's an iPhone 10s, so it's like has a sizable screen, I still find it very difficult to like actually do any serious project planning on such a tiny screen. So I
Yeah.
prefer to be here on the Mac or on the iPad, you know, but it really is the easiest to do it on the Mac. When you start mapping out projects, I'll show you a project that I've got coming up next week, which I'm not looking forward to, which is filing my business taxes, which I have to do every quarter. It's quite complicated. You can see it's in Dutch, but
Yeah.
I have so many notes because it's really not that easy to do. And planning something like this out, I really prefer having the Mac to do it because it involves a lot of steps, a lot of things that I did last time. And I was like, oh, I better remember this next time. So then I put that in as a note.
Yeah. So you use the inbox to capture stuff and obviously
Yeah.
file it into the relevant project.
Yeah.
You're not much of a tag user.
No.
I'm the same. I'm slowly learning to do this tag system.
Yeah.
But you spend a lot of time breaking stuff down inside of projects,
Absolutely.
which is really good because, like you said, drilling it down into the sort of next steps it makes life so much easier. How do
Yeah.
you go about using the forecast?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great question. I'll go over here to the forecast. The way I think about it, right? Any given day when you're going to work on something, there are kind of three things. There's calendar events that you have that day. So something that's on your calendar, for example, right now I'm talking to you. I better show up for that, right? So in my OmniFocus forecast, I can set it up right here to show certain calendars. And events from those calendars will automatically get pulled into OmniFocus and show. So I've got very important things like business meetings, like talking to you. Other very important meetings like Formula One races are also showing up in my calendar right here. And what I do is I basically see what calendar events do I have going on today. And then second, I look what's coming due today. Because if something is due today, then ideally I would have done it a couple days before, but you know, got to do it today. So for example, I'm currently doing a push-up challenge. So today is a day when I'm scheduled to do push-ups. So this task to do push-ups has a due date of today. And there are other things that are coming due soon, and I'll usually just scroll through my forecast to see what's coming up in future weeks. For example, on November 13th, I've got a Toastmasters meeting. So if I scroll down, I see that I have to do all this prep before that meeting. But aside from calendar events and things that are due, there are also things that are sort of important, but not necessarily urgent. You've probably heard about this Eisenhower system, right? There's important and urgent, and you can have 4 kinds of tasks, right? So a lot of people that I talk to who are using OmniFocus, they've got so many urgent tasks coming that they rarely ever get to the important tasks. They've got lots of meetings, they've got lots of little things that are due, but they're like, yeah, I've got this important project. It's not really due anytime soon, but like I never find myself getting to it because I'm always extinguishing fires. So the way that I deal with that is I do have one tag that I love, and it's this next tag over here. And essentially this tag means I'm intending to work on this next. Now, next, it could mean today, it could mean sometime in the next few days, right? And it allows me to mark some tasks or entire projects that while they're not coming due soon, I would like to work on them soon. So for example, I'm working on this YouTube video that I mentioned on OmniFocus versus things. There's no deadline on this, you know, like if I don't put this out this year, nobody's going to come and yell at me that I didn't put this video out, but I would like to put the video out. So the next step, I've assigned it a next tag, which essentially, I've set it up in my forecast view. If I click this little button right here, it says today shows items with this tag, and I've chosen next. So any task that has that tag also shows up under today. So now I've got my calendar events, my things that are due today, and these things that I intend to work on today. And that I think is like a magic combination of the three kinds of things that if you manage to do that every day, then you're gonna have fantastic days and weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that you use a weekly review, and of course that's a good way to sort of stop and smell the flowers, see what's going on for the next week. That's it. Do you use the review feature inside of OmniFocus, or do you use it in a manual process?
Absolutely, I do use that feature. And actually, I've written an article for OmniFocus.com on how to do a weekly review in 9 steps. And I've also got like a free PDF that people can download and take a look at. And I basically follow that system. But it uses the built-in review feature, which I don't see in many other task managers. And I think that's a big opportunity for a lot of task managers, to be honest, because it really helps to be able to keep track of it. So as I was saying, I actually did a review this morning, but let me just mark another task that, let's say this project was up for review today. What's going to happen? It's going to show up over here in the review perspective, and I'll set this project to active.
Oh, there we go.
And,
that's why.
yeah. And it's really nice. It just shows up with this little dot right here. I couldn't tell you what color it is because I'm colorblind. It's probably blue. Who knows? It's up for review. Is it blue?
It's purple. Yeah.
Oh, it's purple. Okay. There we go. Close enough. Blue and purple, man. I'm not good with this stuff. So, and a lot of the time, what I'll do is I'll have most of my projects. I set them to review once a week. So once a week, and I do it all on the same day. OmniFocus will remind me, show this, I guess, purple here as well, and tell me, look, these projects are up for review. And then I go through them. I don't always do it on that exact day. Maybe I do it the day after, but I try to do it quite quickly. And so what I do for a review is I go through the project and I take a look, have I already done some of this stuff? Because sometimes you do something, you just forget to mark it, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, you got to just mark stuff as complete. You already did it. Or sometimes someone else has done something. I don't need to do it anymore. Okay, then I delete the task. Or maybe the due date changed. Now, this particular example is preparing for a meeting on November 13th, so I don't think the due date there is going to change, but it happens sometimes the due dates change. So you got to check that that's still good. And sometimes I'll write down prepare for the meeting, but I won't have any subtasks. So when I'm doing my weekly review, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Peter, like we can break this down into more detail, right? Because prepare for the meeting is nebulous. It's hard to get started on. What's that next action is missing? And so then I'll use command and the right brackets, and then it'll indent, and then I'll just start typing all of the things, like prepare, for being the evaluator, or whatever my role is for this Toastmasters evening, doesn't matter. I'll fill out all of these subtasks. And when I'm done with that, then you can click the button up here, mark as reviewed, and it disappears. And OmniFocus will remind me to review this again the next time I want it to. And usually I have that set to every week, but you could set it to every 3 months, which I do for some projects. And that's actually really nice to show you. I've got this project templates folder over here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're excited.
Carry on. I'm excited.
Yeah, so everybody has these projects they do every now and then. right? But not necessarily on a fixed schedule. So like if I'm watering the plants like once a week, right? I have a repeating task in my OmniFocus, water the plants. Okay. In fact, I think I have to water the plants today. But there are things that are larger projects, and you do them every now and then. So for me, for example, that could be create a video for YouTube. And rather than every time trying to remember what are the steps involved in creating a YouTube video and writing those out, I just wrote them out once and created a project template. So it's just a normal project. I've set it to paused. By setting it to paused, it doesn't show as these actions being available. So when I go look at other perspectives in OmniFocus, it doesn't say you could start completing these tasks. It kind of hides them. And when I want to start creating a video, all I do is I just right click and then I click duplicate. And then I've got this other project and I'll just drag it wherever I want to drag it. So for example, I'll drag it under YouTube and I'll give it a title. So let's say I did a meditation app review the other day. So I'll be like meditation app review, set it to active, and there we go. Now I can start working through these. And it's extremely handy. And when I'm working through this, if I think, I can think of an improvement to my workflow, then I'll make the improvement both in this active copy of the project as well as in the project template down here. So that next time I do this, the improvement will be in there and I don't have to even remember it. So
yeah, that is really good.
It's so handy.
Yeah, that just saves you a lot of time and effort. I don't even do that inside of Todoist or anything like that. So, and I do wish there was some sort of review function, because I do such a manual review, and it like compared to that review feature, that's having that recurring review is actually something really cool. So, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, so the reason I actually started talking about project templates, I totally forgot, was because I was going to mention, for project templates, I set my review to be like, I guess, every 1 month. But you know what? It should probably be 3 months. You know, I should probably look at this every 3 months.
So you can do that with even project templates, on hold tasks, right? Or on hold projects.
Yeah, so I set it to on hold, and then I can still...
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because you don't want to review your template every week. I mean, that just becomes cumbersome, unnecessary. Yeah. So you can, per project, set the review frequency, and then OmniFocus will just remind you whenever it's time to review something. And it's incredibly helpful, and another way that you can trust it, right? So that you don't have to remember things yourself, which to me, that's one of the key goals, especially with my history of stress and burnout, not having to remember stuff myself, being able to trust the system without worrying that things are slipping through the cracks. That's the goal.
Yeah, that is good. That is really good. Thank you, Peter, for taking the time out to tour us around your OmniFocus. After this, where can everyone find you? Because, guys, this is not the last time we'll be seeing Peter. He'll be back. The thing is, we don't do as many, as I was saying before, we don't do as many OmniFocus things. So, getting you in to do a few more sort of tours will be perfect. So, but where can people find you?
Yeah, so first thing is, if people want to grab that 9-step weekly review cheat sheet that I have for OmniFocus, that's available for free, and I guess we'll put that link in the video description. And if they want to check out my OmniFocus course, it's called How to Set Up and Use OmniFocus 3 to Get Stuff Done. That's over at learn.peterakkies.net, but we'll also put the link in the description.
Fantastic. And social media? Twitter?
Social media, Peter Akkies, Peter Akkies. That's on Twitter, that's on YouTube, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, Peter, for taking the time out, and I'll catch you soon. I'll drop you an email.
Thank you, Francesco.